All
Hey
right,
everyone,
cool.
the name is Erik Thor, and I'm here today with Joseph Iacobucci. Did I say that right? Hope you
That's
know.
right. Yeah, that's correct. That's
Awesome.
me.
So, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here to talk with you and actually kind of get to know you a little bit better. And hopefully people out there can enjoy our intuition.
Yeah, yeah. I was so happy
Yes.
when you reached out and sent an email because
Mhm.
I also want to do more collabs, and you seem like an awesome guy.
Thank you.
So you're an INFP, and I'm an INFJ.
I
What
know,
is
it's
the
great.
difference? Let's just start there.
Sure. I mean, well, we titled the video on procrastination. So I think it could be kind of fun to talk about our perceiving versus judging preferences. That
Yeah, I
could be
think that's
fun.
where you see it the most. I think we're both the people that struggle with procrastination, right? Uh,
Unfortunately.
yeah, I would say personally, I have I always have like this really long to-do list. I always have like in my head like this long to-do list, like with I should do that, and I should do that, and I should finish that, and I feel like I often have more idea. I'm so good at thinking up things to do. So I've always
Yeah.
been like, I always struggle with that. Like I come up with more things than I could possibly do in my human lifetime, in a sense.
You know, that's funny you say that. When I originally learned about the introverted intuition function, I was on where I went to college originally, I was seeking out these INFJs slash INTJs, and I would ask them questions about knowledge itself. I was interested in knowing, what is your relationship to understanding things and learning? And they would always give me a similar answer, maybe biased here, but they would say, well, there's just not enough time. There's not enough time to learn everything I would like to learn. Or maybe if they want to speak to understanding something, they need more time to keep digging. It's like
Yeah.
it's endless, you know, search, I guess, going on.
Yeah, I think I feel that when I was young, I knew early that I wanted to know everything about everything. But then I realized that that's not like possible with how much time there is and how much there is to learn. But I wanted to know and have like in my head like this bigger picture of everything, how everything works and how everything fits together.
Yeah.
That's my aspiration, I guess.
On my I guess my extroverted intuition preference, I always found myself getting interested in a lot of different things as well. Um, but the lack, I think there was always like a lack of really being able to go as deep as I think I really think I should. You know, I get excited and then I get into it and then it's kind of gone. Get excited about something else. It's very driven a lot by, I think, inspiration, maybe. I don't know, something like that. Also has a lot to do with the way I feel, which is really kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, when I was
Yeah.
researching perceiving and judging in neuroscience, like one of the most
Yeah, tell me
fascinating
about
thing
that.
I
That
came
sounds pretty
across,
neat.
it was like it has to do with breakdown of dopamine in the brain. That's one theory I have, at least, that
Yes, that would make
when
sense.
judging types, they take a lot longer to get interested in something, but they maintain interest for a longer time once they're interested in
Ah,
something.
okay,
Where I
okay.
think receiving types, they get more easily interested in something, but they lose interest more quickly.
Hmm.
And it has to do with the fact that judging types take longer to break down dopamine. Like when they have dopamine in their brain, like it stays in there.
It takes longer. Okay.
Yeah, where for the perceiving type, when it's in there, it's broken down quickly. Like if nothing new happens, nothing comes up, nothing new to learn, nothing interesting, then it goes away.
I think this is cool because we're talking about motivation, um, like the motivational pathway and learning pathway, and it being maybe a little different. Um, that is really cool. You know, I'm drinking coffee right now, but I got a stimulant. So
I'm drinking rosemary water. It's the most disgusting thing
I have
ever.
no idea what that is. That
It's
sounds like it might be good for you.
sparkling rosemary water. It's pure natural rosemary extract. A drink to
Cool.
remember. That's certainly
Hey,
true.
I'd be willing to try it. That's for sure.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, like this is the thing. Like I studied psychology in college, but I was also a philosophy major. I ended up earning a bachelor's in philosophy, but my interest has always been in human motivation. And I love seeing how it is we are fundamentally wired to like be rewarded. And it's interesting to see that there are differences there. Like why? It's just really cool. And just talking about dopamine, like talking about the biological basis is just kind of cool to think about as well. And also like how environment plays into it, if you've considered that as well, like being primed by where you are to learn, or even to take the drug if you have addiction related, just the environmental priming. It's always cool to learn about.
Yeah, I think with coffee, what I've always felt is I drink a lot of coffee myself, especially at work. And like, I think how we reward ourselves for doing things we don't like. Like everyone has like this interest.
Ooh, that's interesting.
What's happening around us and for what's going on. But when we're working, we're not really interested in what we're doing at work. Like it's not really something we find fun or anything.
Good.
But
yes.
coffee gives us that kick, so we feel interested, even though it's pretty boring.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like well, I guess you could call it maybe a form of, I don't want to say artificial reward, but maybe something like that, like it's not really a human to keep, like I find what I've learned is that the most rewarding behavior is usually social rapport. There's something really rewarding about that.
Yeah.
And then you add a good coffee to a good conversation, and you're really feeling good, right?
Yeah.
But that's like a fundamental like human need and reward, is to kind of feel that being heard and understood, and it's interesting to consider that being the fundamental reward for the brain, and think about how we don't align with that, I think, always culturally,
Yeah, I was like doing research on the values of the different types, and I think for an INFP, the core value is honesty. I think that's the core passion, like to be authentic and an expression of yourself, to say what you feel and what's on your mind and on your heart, and to be able to speak out in a sense in that way.
And for other people to do it too.
Yeah, exactly. To hear other people's stories in a sense, what the other people believe in, what do they think about.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Absolutely.
I think for me, the core passion, what gives me the energy to do things at work and to work hard, it's really crazy, but it's just kindness. It's just, I feel like I want to do it because I want to help other people at work. And I want to, when I'm covering for somebody who's struggling with something, a task at work, like being to help come in and tell them, oh, so this is what you can do, this is how you can fix it.
Yeah, I definitely see the counselor capacity, I think, probably within both of us, the style there.
Yeah.
The ultimate,
That's the core similarity with INFPs I have. We're both introverted and we're both feeling types in a sense. And that means we're both very introspective and like thinking about people and what's inside and what's between them and how they think and so on.
It's funny when I communicate with people who aren't as, probably the best way to put this is agreeable. And they think, when I get to talking about people, it's funny because they don't necessarily have the same genuine interest in people, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But it's cool to see that people really are fundamentally kind of different, in that respect,
Yeah, it's like seeing people spark up when they get to do something they actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, that's exciting.
What I felt with like procrastination is the core reason I think we procrastinate is because we feel powerless. Like we have, we get from other people, like, or in our head, we have this idea of other people telling us to do something. I should be doing this. Like the society thinks I should be doing this, or I should be doing this because my boss wants me to do it, or like my parents want me to do it. Having that voice in your head and feeling like it's coming from outside. Because most of our energy and our passion comes from inside, like when we're able to engage in tasks that we enjoy and find meaningful, and like to do something that we value and do something we feel good at.
Yeah, I want to bring up the autonomy component, because when I've learned, I've read pretty in depth about the Enneagram, the fundamental needs for the different triads, and it seems to me that that's kind of what gets me going. If I can have an honest conversation about how I really feel free, if that makes sense, when I feel most free, to kind of, like you said, not necessarily go about doing things because I've been told to, and things like this, because it comes from a genuine sort of, oh, I figured this out on my own, I reflected on it, it's important,
Yeah. I'm
that's
realizing that
the best.
like I'm realizing that at work, like when somebody comes and tells you to do
Yes.
something differently. Like for me, when I'm criticized at work, it's like I can go from being super productive and doing so many things and being really good at something,
Okay.
and then a little critique can really like sip that out of me, and it's like I can't do anything anymore, and it takes me an hour to get
Really? Oh man.
uh,
Yeah, I know I've felt that way too. I think probably maybe I'm less sensitive in that respect than I used to be. I don't know. I think the more you take it, the stronger you get, type thing. And you also see where the people who are criticizing you probably lack as well. Because the people usually criticizing you probably aren't
yeah.
as emotionally savvy as you, maybe, some of the time.
No, and then it can be like differences in opinion. Sometimes it's because you do something wrong, but sometimes it's because they have another opinion on how to do things. They like to do
Ooh.
something differently, and then they think you should be doing it the way they like to do it.
Yeah, I was reading about the low
That's
conscientiousness component,
Yeah,
and that low conscientiousness component relates to that lack of wanting to follow an external guideline or rule, or maybe even follow maybe like an authority figure telling you. There's just like, there isn't a clear understanding of why that's important for whatever reason.
no.
But in society, it's super important. It's just not necessarily for me, and probably not as much for you. But for any business, that's how businesses function, uh, it's just, you need to follow
Yeah,
the
but then I
guidelines.
think like the best leaders are the ones that let go of their coworkers.
Right.
Like they say, the
Right.
expert, judging ones, like they can be good, I think, sometimes in some situations. But I really feel that when dealing with the ENTJs and ENFJs, in times that they can get too handsy, like they supervise too much, and it gets worse with the SJs,
Yeah.
like with micromanaging.
Yeah.
Where it's so much better if you can just give people a clear direction and a vision to follow, and then let them manage the execution of it.
I love it. It sounds good to me, as long as
Yeah,
there's a vision. It sounds great. Yeah, that's always been my style. Maybe this resonates with you. Maybe it's a different style, but I've always gone into organizations. We have to go to school, we have to go to work, and we have to do normal things. And you have to work with people. And what I've always done is I've sort of strategically always built rapport with people one-on-one, and wanted to synthesize that, on the group level. It's always been kind of like one at a time type thing. And that's always been my leadership style, move people personally. And then when we're together, because you have to work together in any organization, once you have that feeling of trust, people just really want to, work efficiently, maybe, or something.
Yeah, for me, it's like I want to, in a group settings, I want to be able to go away and have my private time where I think up ideas and where I work and so on. And then when I get an idea that I want to share with other people, or where I want to get other people along with it, then I present it to the group. And if I see another person with a good idea, usually I will approach them one-on-one. And I will try to coach them, or like counsel them and get them to share it with other people.
It's cool how you made it. You made it about ideas. That's what's cool. Like, you really started talking about the ideas. Maybe that represents a different style, because I'm always focused on the feelings, maybe, of the people.
Yeah,
It's
I think
interesting.
the ideas are a core passion for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, yeah, that makes sense. That intuitive dominant function. Wild stuff. Very cool.
Feeling
Yeah.
is really awesome too.
Yeah, it can be. It can be pretty cool. Definitely. It's cool to think about how we do kind of have all the different functions. I always like to think about that.
I was thinking about something else actually, and it was kind of like a strong example. But I was thinking about why the Nazis did what they did, like in a sense. I was thinking because of the the Milgram experiment, where you tell people to give electric shocks to people. Because I think like this sounds like a tangent, but it relates to conscientiousness and like to why we do what we do. Conscientiousness to me, that's like, do we think about the ethics and the consequences of our actions? Do we push ourselves to do what's right? Like, do we feel the passion, or do we feel like things matter and our decisions and our voice matters? And I feel that like with the reason we do bad things in society, a lot of the time it has to do with that we don't think we are responsible for our actions. We think it's somebody else that told us to do it, or somebody else wants us to do it. And that's also like a part of it. Like a lot of people don't feel that they have control over their actions, and therefore they feel they are not responsible for their actions, and therefore they don't invest energy into it. They procrastinate, they delay it, or when they do it sloppily or half-heartedly, without like thinking about if it's right or wrong. And I feel that goes back to why we do bad things and why we also like struggle in a sense. We lost Joey there for a second. I think his internet might have disappeared. Bethany, Bethany says, so a conscientious person would refuse to comply with Milgram rather than go along with it. Yeah, I think so too. That the more conscientious you are, the more resistant you are to like obeying bad orders or doing something the wrong way. You'll go like, are you sure we should be doing this? Or like, this is probably not the best way we should be doing it. We should probably be doing it differently. Of course, the pressure from the Milgram experiment was very high. Like they were literally telling you have to do it, like pushing you in a sense. So it requires you probably to be very strong in yourself and to be strong in your sense of ethics. And I don't think a lot of people back in the time of the Milgram experiment were, because I think we had so ingrained in us, we should do what society tells us, we should follow orders, we should be obedient, we should respect our superiors. Where did we lose Joey? Oh God! So Joey disappeared because his mother unplugged the router on accident. Or was it accident? Yeah, I think it's because people see conscientiousness differently, of course. But I believe, like with conscience, conscience is even in the word conscientiousness. It's one definition is to be careful, to be vigilant, desiring to do a task well. And I think, like when you're moderate or high in the conscientiousness, then you might take obligations to others seriously. You might be more open to orders and so on. But you still have, if you have that strong conscientiousness, you also have that desire of wanting to do well at the task. And if you think that the orders will have the opposite effect, or if it will hurt people or hurt the company, of course you want to speak out about it. And that's also like a lot of leaders and a lot of workplaces create this culture where people don't feel a need to take charge, and where they don't dare to speak out if they see something wrong.
Hey, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I could feel the anger.
Oh,
It's all good.
You lost your router?
First world problems, you know? No, my mom was cleaning and organizing, and I guess she accidentally unplugged the modem. Fortunately, it's working just fine.
Yeah.
Were you just going? Are we still rolling technically? Is that what's happening?
Rolling. We're still here. Everyone's here.
Good for these people who can bear us.
Yeah. We have some questions like from chat.
Oh, we do. How can I see that? Can I see that?
Yeah, you can go into the YouTube video. Just turn off the sound when you do.
Oh, okay.
I linked it to you. It's
cool.
Let's
see if I can find it.
Aiden says, do it for science, no matter if it's immoral. Like we're talking about the Milgram experiment and why people do follow bad orders and like conscientiousness and the desire,
do it for science.
the desire to do what you're told. Or
wow, that's interesting.
I feel that then also, of course, like when you get into the ethics of it all, of course, feelers and thinkers might have different motives there. But what is
I am vicious against my utility-based friends who seem to discredit ethics and people's emotional lives. So I tend to get pretty vicious with people who are too, you could say, disagreeable, probably too competitive.
Yeah. I admire them as well.
I do too, of course. I think we need to have a healthy degree of assertion, you know, but we also need to allow people to, like, you know, be themselves, something like that.
Yeah, I think as nines, we are pretty agreeable, and even though we're not very necessarily about not very high in conscientiousness, we're pretty agreeable. Like we want to believe people are good, and we want to cooperate with and trust other people, and we have that spirit.
All right, I'm looking at the chat now. I didn't mean to be too rigid with that claim. I'm just in my experience. I don't know, people can probably produce more utility if they do feel like they are stable and in a comfortable environment interpersonally and things like that. So I always try to use that as my argument, maybe.
Yeah, like there is an ethics in thinkers, and especially I tend to say thinkers are more utilitarian overall and how they think about things. So it's kind of like looking at what does subjectively give the better outcome, like what does lead to better happiness, to people being more healthy, to in the longer perspective. Where I tend
being healthy is something I'm very passionate about seeing. Very passionate about seeing people be healthier in general, because then you can actually, like, it's a person, you can see people who work very hard. Maybe they have underlying emotional problems, but they never feel like they are good enough. They never feel like they are working enough, and maybe they just don't allow themselves to experience things. And I like to kind of build that up. You know, people need to feel like they can be appreciated a little bit.
Yeah,
I think, to feel good.
Yeah, like you do have people who work all the time and who are always doing something, and they're also putting so much energy into things, and then they never feel good about it, and they never like take time to appreciate what they do or to feel satisfied. Like,
right.
And especially the Enneagram ones, I think, can struggle with that to some extent.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think Enneagram 3s too. I think like there's always more.
Yes. Let's see. Any other questions that I haven't really been looking, so I'm just like looking at your chat here. She's doing a lot better.
How do you improve your intuition?
Ooh, interesting. That's a good question. Intuition.
Personally, for myself as an INFJ, I would argue be independent and act independently of what other people want.
Ooh,
follow your own like beat to your own drum. And I think take time for privacy, for alone time, to detach from your surroundings. Like don't get too caught up in what's happening around you, like everything, the work stress, the people. Just focus on your own thoughts and like where you want to go and where you're headed.
I agree too. Like a healthy degree of detachment also helps me immensely. And it's just like you have to reorient, for me at least, you have to reorient your focus back to what's going on within you. I think intuition's more of this, like, I don't want to say passive process, maybe something like that. You have to let the wandering mind do these really amazing things. And you can't let that happen in a social atmosphere, because the mind, I think, like the default network just goes to other emotions. This is the default network for some reason.
Yeah.
But when you're alone, of course, you're still interested in probably these emotional stimuli. Or it's just, there's like, it's in you more. So that's kind of one way to look at it, I think.
Do you feel more intuitive when you're like talking with other people and like sharing ideas and discussing, or do you feel more intuitive when you're alone?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's funny how I think I can kind of maybe get a little too caught up in ideas on my own without like a sense of there being like ground to stable them. Maybe that's like the extroverted intuition at play there. But when I go to other people, I'm like maybe I'm like an intuitive empiricist in some sense, if that doesn't make any sense, but I'm like observing maybe what my intuition is giving me to work with, and it grounds it. And then I can talk to people too, which helps me with that.
Yeah, that sounds very INFP at least.
Right?
Yeah. I think like you all, I think we both as INF types like value the detachments of it, like taking a step back, seeing the bigger picture, and flowing from that from inside out. And I think
Yeah.
then I think the difference is that often I tend to focus myself on one thing and something I want to say and like where I want to go, and I can do that pretty much alone if I want to. I can just sit for myself and just do that. Where I think INFPs need to bounce off more with other people, like throw things together.
Bouncing, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I like to think that introverted intuition, or NI, might be a bit more mystical, you know, like the extroverted intuition function is dealing with seemingly objective sort of things. Intuition's introvert is more subjective. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I think often when an INFJ starts talking about something, people go, "Where does this come from?" Like, so what brought this on? Where I think for an INFP, it's at least it can seem random as well. It can, but there's usually a connection somewhere, and I like thinking about and going. So, where did those connections come from?
Yeah, it really does fuel, and they fuel each other. Those two functions, they really kind of keep each other going a little bit. Like, I just enjoy hearing you have such a great synthesis, you know?
Yeah, synthesis is the NJ thing. Putting it.
Yeah, I enjoy that. And I also think people with that preference make just wonderful teachers. So, and I see like how important teachers are for building up stable people. You know, like there needs to be stability. Like my brother's he's an INFJ, and he's very opinionated on how if you have a coherent worldview, you really are prepared for the world, right?
Yeah. It's it's what gets me to be outgoing. Like if I have a solid theory of mind and a frame of consciousness and everything, then I can be as outgoing as I want. But if I lose
that's
it,
pretty cool.
and that happens like once in a while, I lose it, then I always have to pull back and get it back first.
That's interesting. Wow.
And that's like not getting distracted. Like one thing that makes me perform worse at work, I realize that's getting distracted. Like as soon as I hear people coming to me with questions and things change, and suddenly I have to do a new task that came out of nowhere, like it also makes me perform so much worse, and it makes me like lose steam and energy and passion for the task as well. Like I want to do things on my own accord, in my own rate, in my own, according to my own idea of what I should be doing first, and I want to have my own prioritization, and I don't want anyone to get in between that.
Yeah, it does sound like there's a trend for independence that I'm hearing from you.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool to hear that, because I think it just resonates really highly with that trait, conscientiousness being relatively low, and that openness component. I always use I've been using the big five a lot to think about things. So everything you're saying does resonate with me. It really does. Very, very similar, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, being independent is just, it's weird. I need that. It's like you need independence for intimacy with yourself. At least that's the way I see it. And then when you have that, you really, for me at least, I'm really stable when I have that. So it's like I just I feel open to people, and I feel open to ideas, and everything's just pretty exciting to explore at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in some ways, like there are similarities for sure between NPs and NJs when it comes to independence. But I think the interesting thing I notice with NPs is I feel as an NP, you're more rebellious. Like if somebody tells you to do something, usually you will see another way to do it. And you'll be like, oh, let's do it like this instead.
Yeah, I'm more excited about seeing it done in a different way.
And that's the creative process. That's why you get that dialogue. Let's do this. No, let's do that. No, let's do this instead. Like that's an NP conversation. I feel where an NJ conversation is like there's this way I want to do it, and then my girlfriend sometimes come and say let's do it like this, and I'm like, but I'm set on doing it like that. And then she keeps bouncing, and then I finally I find a way to align it. Okay, so I guess I can pick up what you said and I can put it together with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say you see yourself as a healer? Like, do you identify with that, or a counselor?
Not dominantly, but I guess I have that.
What would you identify with dominantly if you could use some sort of?
I don't know. I never know how to explain what I am or what I do, but
well, that's beautiful anyway. That's
yeah.
Introverted Intuition for you.
So do you have any final remarks on procrastination or?
Procrastination, for anyone who struggles to get things done, like me, don't be hard on yourself. You're probably never going to be as productive as some people, so don't compare yourself pretty much ever. So set your own standard, and just realize that that's probably the only one that matters, and just really small kind of steps. Take small steps. Eliminate distractions as well. Like if you want to do something, just realize that one thing can be really inspirational. It can give you everything you need to keep going. So I look at it that way, like eliminate distractions, keep it very simple. Don't overwhelm yourself, basically.
Yeah.
So don't overwhelm yourself. And if you are as open as I am, I'm sure maybe you are, I don't know. You do have that high openness component, that that can kind of drive you too. Like you can really kind of let that carry you to maybe the next chapter of a book or a new movie or whatever it is you're interested in exploring. It could be a novel or a story or a book on any topic. So let the creativity kind of guide you a little bit. That's always what's helped me.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think if you are an open person, like look at what your dominant strength is, so like what you are passionate about and what you do enjoy doing, and try to work from there outwards. I think that's much easier than working on what you're struggling with. and going straight to doing something you don't like doing first. It's better.
Yeah, I have a quick note too. I'm with what I said. I just came to me because the reward pathway really is associated with feeling good, you know. And if you can experience, this is really the strength-based approach. If you can experience necessarily who you are naturally, what you're gifted at naturally, and get rewarded in that way, it makes the other things that you're not so good at extremely bearable. It's like the person who's an accountant really wants to do creative work. They're accounting all day, but they afford maybe a short amount of time to create something beautiful, and that inspiration can that little kind of thing can just keep you going. So that's something.
Yeah, I think give yourself 30 minutes at work where you just procrastinate or you just go off and do something you enjoy.
Mind wander or something.
Yeah. And I really feel like what you said, like in one way, I feel like it all ties together with developing your own voice and trusting your own voice. Like you have something you want to say, you want to speak out about, you have something you care about, something you find important, and you want other people to hear it. And you have to learn to listen to that voice and not to judge it and not to tell yourself it's bad or to learn. Because I think getting passion and getting away from procrastination and from laziness is all about developing that voice. Like learning to speak out when you see something important, and then learning to execute it and stand up for it, and to like getting passionate about it and feeling like, oh, this is actually important. I actually should be doing this. We should actually be doing something with it. That's pretty much the heart of breaking out of the procrastination spiral.
And I think when you break out a little bit, people see it too. And if you acknowledge that, wow, you can see other people kind of mirroring back to you maybe that confidence. And people want to be around people who have trust in their own selves and I don't want to say in the self, because I don't think it's ever that simple, but they're trusting something. And people want to be around people like that.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. It's like the parent who kind of like guides the child, to the swing set maybe, or plays with the child. It's scary for the child. The father makes it okay, and if you kind of like build up that adult in yourself, I guess you could say, to let the child in you go.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, maybe that's an interesting metaphor for it.
Yeah, and the adult is you. It's like the child is not really you. It's like the adult is you. It's what you want, feel responsible about, what you think is
responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that voice. It's all about self-actualization in the end. So I want to wrap up this video. I have to get to pub hangout with my coworkers, but it's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, definitely. Jake.
Good times.
And thank you everyone else for joining up. Thank you, Bethany and Aiden and Keating and Saku and everyone, Fairy of Something, Susanna, Ruba, Togami, Tariq TV. It's been great having you all here. And
thanks for letting us entertain you.
Yeah. So see you, and hope to see you guys in the next video.
Take care, everyone.